This is the regular session, November 29, 2016, Joplin Schools Board of Education. We'll go ahead and start with roll call. Pat?
Dr. Debbie Ford.
Present.
Jeff Coates.
Present.
Jennifer Martucci.
Present.
Sheriff Dermott.
Here.
Lori Musser.
Here.
Chris Sloan.
Here.
All right. Would you all please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. We have the agenda. Any changes to the agenda? Anybody request? Okay, I'd be happy to entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Did we have a,
There was a change.
Okay.
Pat Waldo had
Textbook,
suggested a
of
couple?
We
course.
want to remove number 3 and 4 from the regular agenda.
3 and 4 of G. G3 and G4. Okay.
They'll come back December 15, I believe.
Okay. Not quite ready. We thought they might be. Okay.
Yep.
Appreciate it. All right. With that noted,
I move.
I'll second.
Mr. Sloan has moved and Jennifer a second to approve the agenda. Please vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Motion is approved. Okay. I've got a couple things under the board president's report for celebrations. First, I want to say thank you to everybody that's come to join us this evening. Also, Mike Vivas is our new transportation director. Appreciate it, you making it. I had a chance to get to talk to you a little bit, so you got some big shoes to fill, so let's keep it rolling. Thank you very much.
Keep it no pun intended.
Wheels on the bus.
Okay.
Go round
All
and
right. Second, Chris Young is our French teacher at the high school. He is going to give a presentation after I finish my celebrations, and then we're going to make an announcement. So before everybody rushes to the door, I'm going to introduce our next superintendent of Joplin Schools, Dr. Mindy Moss. Yes. Magic. Okay.
She's apparating.
She left.
And I'm sorry we've broken into your live television coverage.
Where'd you go?
I hear heels, and I'm in here, so.
Oh, there you go. The conference room from the fan.
There she is.
So I'm sure you've all had a chance to take a look at our finalists for the Joplin School Superintendent. I'm very pleased to be able to introduce Dr. Mindy Moss. And she's going to say a couple of words, and then she's going to have a seat while we get to hear about this trip to Japan. And then she's going to make herself available in the hallway while we go through the other business. So you have to decide which is more important, the board committee reports or talking to the new superintendent. So.
Well, thank you, Jeff, and other members of the board. When I thought about what I wanted to tell you tonight, just simply that it's an honor to be asked to serve alongside this board. And it's a board that I have found through this process to be very caring, and a board that is unified in its focus on student achievement. And, you know, there's 3 common characteristics that every great district has. And it's that children are safe, children are learning, and the district is fiscally responsible. And when I look at your strategic plan and the work that's gone on to bring about the 3 to achieve, that fits in perfect alignment with those 3 characteristics. It's about student support, readiness, and efficiency. And so that, to me, is what makes this position so exciting, because you're there. You're working on those things, and to be able to join you in that is something that I do not take lightly. And I can promise you that I will serve with my utmost diligence and transparency and just do my best to be deserving of this honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you want to sit down there with Paul, that way you can see the screen, and then
Oh, it's right there.
There. It's like we planned it that way. All right. In our celebrations, we wanted to invite Chris Young. Chris, can you?
And Andrew Chesney.
And Andrew Chesney, sorry, yes. Yeah.
Come on in. Andrew, do you have a mom here? Yes. You want to introduce her? Introduce your mom.
This is Marsha Chesney, my mother.
Welcome, Mom.
Very nice, thank you. Chris, did you bring your mom?
No, I brought my wife.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
Michelle and
close.
Addison.
Very nice.
So I guess just to give you guys a little bit of information about the opportunity Andrew and I had, we were invited by Ishinomaki Nishi High School in Ishinomaki, Japan, to attend a 2016 International High School Student Forum. So we just got back a few weeks ago. So we're going to run you through a presentation I had prepared to, I had discussed with my students upon my return, and also with you guys. So Eric's at the helm. Andrew is also into the theater department, so we're going to work on his improv during this presentation. The forum itself had a list of objectives, all of which you guys can read for yourself up there. To kind of put it in a nutshell, it was to share stories about disaster relief, recovery, and preparedness for the future. So it was a learning process over the 4 days that we were there, learning what they had gone through, but also sharing our story of what happened in Joplin. For those of you who do not know, Ishinomaki in Japan is quite a ways away from the tourist center of Tokyo. Andrew and I landed in Tokyo, spent the night, took another flight, then took a bus for an hour. It was a long process getting there, but Ishinomaki is on the coast. It was hit by a 9.0 earthquake. There was a tsunami that took out a large population of the city. This was 2 months before our tornado. So it was interesting for Andrew and I to have a lot of conversations about differences with stages of recovery, where we were in comparison to them, and just kind of share the steps that we took as a community and then also that they took. So.
So this sign was a symbol for the Ishinomaki. It basically means go for it, Ishinomaki, or Gamburo. The blue letters or symbols means Ishinomaki, and vice versa. The other symbols mean Gamburo.
And the story behind that is it was a fisherman who painted that on some of the debris that was left after the tsunami went through. It was a symbol that, gave their people hope, just like for us. We had mottos like "We are Joplin," "Joplin Strong." It's stuff that,
or like at the high school, the Hope High School, like that.
So it was very important to the people, and it still stands. It's a permanent feature now.
Okay, I'll explain what's going on in these pictures. The one on the left, we had just finished eating lunch at the school, and we got brought into the gymnasium there. And we didn't know exactly what was going on. They told us to sit in front of the group of kids. They were all sitting in front of us, like, okay, what's going on here? And they tell us to introduce ourselves, so we do. And then the students start building stretchers. Like, stretchers? What is that for? And then we had to draw grade levels out of a hat. We're like, what's going on? Well, it turns out we have to go sit down on the stretchers and get carried around. And then this whole process was basically an exchange meeting for the whole entire school, which was on the itinerary, but we never realized exactly what it meant until it happened. But it was really interesting, and at that moment, I felt like I bonded a lot with the other presenters, because we all frozen in that moment saying, what the heck is going on in here? But it was really fun. Then the bottom right picture is a field, a baseball field located in Ishinomaki that was helped rebuilt with the MLB baseball league here in America. And Tomogashi means friendship.
This was an important symbol to the people of Ishinomaki because this was one of the first things that reopened afterwards. So this was where they had the high school, the Japanese high school championship game. So that was their first big reopening afterwards. All of these places that Andrew's talking about, these were presented to us by the English club at the high school. So the students at the Japanese high school had to prepare presentations to explain all of this to us. So we're trying to take notes while they're presenting, and still I'll just take it all in. But this particular place is Hioriyama Park, which is on top of Hiori Mountain. And this was a place that served as a refuge for people that were escaping the tsunami. As that wave came in, it took out 9,000 homes in this particular area, and people were climbing up the mountainside to escape the waters. A lot of people ended up living on this particular mountain until the waters, receded and they were able to get to safety. So all of these places that we saw and we visited were emotionally draining, especially because it brought back a lot of memories of what happened here. But it was interesting to just have those, open lines of communication to just kind of share stories. And the biggest thing that I took out of this is that no matter the language, no matter the culture, we all suffer the same way. We all have to come back and bounce back the same way as well and support each other. So it was a lot to visit these places, but it was also amazing to see where they've come from their disaster.
Yes.
This location is called Okawa Elementary School, and Eric, you can just flip through it, it'll kind of bring some up. Okawa Elementary School was another disaster location that we ended up visiting. It was a building that was not torn down. They've actually kept it as a memorial. They've put different shrines up for the people of Ishinomaki to visit and pay tribute to the people that were lost. The story of Okawa Elementary and the reason for the great numbers of loss, 74 of 108 students and 10 of 13 teachers, was because they'd always gone through this preparation, just like we do with tornadoes and earthquakes and fire drills. But their preparedness and what they, the plan they had in place was completely derailed because they had plans to leave the school and to cross a bridge. The bridge was taken out by the tsunami. So the only option they had, which I'll let Eric keep going, was to flee up the mountain behind the school. So the mountainside that was behind the school is rather steep. So a lot of them, elementary age students, weren't able to make it. And the following slide also shows the water level after the tsunami ended up showing.
So this was a shrine for the victims of the tsunami there. And as a guest, they asked me to place flowers as a memorial to them. So I was very honored to be selected to do that out of the other two students.
So the next day, the students were going to have practice for the forum, the preparations. So yet again, they had already done one introduction at the high school in front of the entire student body, which yet again was a little bit unexpected. And then we had a practice forum at the Ishinomaki Senshu University where the forum was actually being held the next day.
So the forum took place in two different halls. This was the major hall that held, I believe, at the school, in the high school, they have 3 grades, and so they call it first, second, and third grade. So it's kind of different when you tell someone, oh, he's in first grade. They're like, first grade? Elementary school? No. That's 1 through 3. So this room had first and second grade, and there was another smaller room that held the third grade students. So I personally, I started off in this room getting introduced, and then I got pushed over to the other room and presented in front of the third grade students. And so my presentation had me just giving a self-introduction about myself and saying what happened with our city, and then showing a video. and letting that play for about 6 minutes, and then just adding some information afterwards, which I felt really impacted the students better and than the other presenters, because all of them had to present in English. None of them were native speakers besides myself, and just having someone speak to you for 10 minutes in English, they're not going to understand it, but having just a video showing what happened with simple phrases and statistics, it allowed for a deeper emotional impact on them, and really went well.
Yeah, and of the 5 schools that presented at the forum, we were the only ones from the United States. There were 2 schools from Japan, Ishinomaki and Fukuoka.
Yeah.
There was a school from Taiwan and a school from South Korea. So there was quite a variety of students that were there to present. Yet again, as Andrew said, all in English. So Andrew definitely had a little bit easier than some of the other kids. But it was amazing to see all of the Japanese students just asking questions afterwards and really kind of enthralled. They covered topics of natural disasters and then also man-made disasters. So it was, yet again, the relief, recovery, preparedness, and even prevention on the man-made side.
Okay, so after the forum, I got asked to be interviewed for Japanese television. I don't have the footage. It's somewhere. We'll find it. But I didn't know exactly what was going on, as probably the pictures could tell. There was a man behind the camera asking me questions in Japanese. I did not know what he was saying. But luckily, we had the English teacher from the high school acting as my translator. And so she would translate it for me, and then I'd speak. And they had the microphones shoved in front of my face. And then once I finished talking, they immediately just go over to the translator and like, what is he saying? What is he saying? But yeah, it went really well. I was just really confused what was going on, but I was good sport.
It was truly a deer in headlights moment, but it was entertaining at the same time.
Yes.
Just over the whole trip and having the opportunity to present about, this forum and our purpose, we witnessed so many different cultural opportunities, which were amazing. We spent the whole day at the school, so we got to meet kids from the English club. We also attended Kendo club. There's a video of Andrew doing that. It's not in the presentation, so
Yes, good.
that's probably good. We also have karate club that we attended, so we were able to see students, really embrace that part of their culture. Ping pong, Andrew,
Ping pong, yes.
as you can also see, participated. Very serious club. The food itself, for myself, I am a traveler. I am definitely open to cultural changes and opportunities. I like fish. Andrew, not so much. So Andrew had a little bit more difficulty with some of the food options, but because Ishinomaki was a port city, the food was amazing. The fish, it was all fresh, and the variety that you would get was awesome. Andrew and I also were not very proficient with chopsticks, but by the end,
You got it down.
almost like Karate Kid with catching the fly, I think.
Then, so this was our lunch at the school with the English club and the school principals and the teachers. And after lunch, after we finished eating, the English club decided to help us learn some origami. So we decided to learn how to make some cranes.
Which is a lot harder than
Yeah,
what you think. The individuals pictured here are the 2 principals of Ishinomaki Nishi High School. The gentleman that's kind of in the middle towards the left, he wore a traditional kimono when we ended up meeting him. When we arrived in Ishinomaki, we were rushed from the bus to the hotel in to meet these 2 gentlemen. We had no idea who they were. And then into a room with the sliding paper doors. You take off your shoes. It was very overwhelming, but it was probably the coolest moment of the trip, just having those authentic cultural moments. And that's the same with being at the school. We participated in a matcha tea ceremony. that some of the teachers who taught at the school had never even done. So we didn't get to do the touristy things,
Yeah.
which is okay, but we got to do the authentic cultural experiences, which was amazing.
One thing about the room with the sliding paper doors, they had rafters. They weren't very tall. I barely cleared it without having to duck, so that was an experience. And they're all like, just looked at me and they're like, "Whoa, you're too tall to be in here." As clearly shown. My host student who hosted me, his name was Shintaro. He's like, "How tall are you?" I'm like, have to do some quick calculations and convert it to centimeters. He's like, "Whoa, that's too big." Well, that's fun.
So yeah, I got to stay at a hotel and Andrew stayed with the host family, so he really got that firsthand experience with staying with the Japanese family. They taught us traditional games in our downtime, so one of them was, let's see if Andrew remembers.
Issei no de.
Good job, yeah. Issei no de, it's a counting game.
Yeah.
So we taught them games that we traditionally play in America. The Korean student taught us games. So it was a good bonding experience just for all the kids to be able to share that. Of course, these are myself, Andrew, Shintaro's in the middle, who is Andrew's host family. Ling, who is the student from Taiwan with her host family as well. And then the last picture are the two individuals who ended up organizing the forum. This was their first year doing it. And Kazuo and Nanako are both English teachers. Nanako, which I was pleasantly surprised, actually lived in Belgium, so I got to speak French when I went to Japan, which was weird. But that was an amazing experience, and they were a great help during the whole process. They also plan on hosting this forum in the future, and it was definitely dropped to us that we would be going back.
Yes.
So,
Hint.
hopefully by
Okay.
your blessings, we'll get a chance again.
Chris, Andrew, thank you so much for
Thanks so
sharing your
much.
experience with us and representing us so well.
Were you in Diary of Anne Frank?
I did the lights for it.
Okay.
But I'm in Robin Hood, which is next week.
Oh,
I'm Robin Hood.
send our congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay,
I will.
That was wonderful.
So,
Wonderful.
Dr. Moss?
Thank you for
if you would like to take as many people that would go with you to the hallway,
All right.
we'll go through the boring stuff. Thank you, guys. Okay, so I think that's enough celebrations for me.
They could go into the next room.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Policy
job,
committee
Andrew's mom.
update. Jennifer?
Yeah, good job.
Okay, so we met, and there is an item on the consent agenda, number 5A, which is policy DH, and the reason that it's in consent agenda for action on a second reading is it was actually done on a first reading in, was it June of 2014, Paul?
I believe that's right.
I think it was June of
Right.
2014, and a change was made, but it turned out that it was never done for a second reading, and turned out that the change that was being made went against statute.
I think so, yeah.
And so they did not want us to make that change. So since it went for a first reading, that action item is just undoing,
Returns it to the
it
previous date.
returns it to where it originally
Back to
was,
the
so no
future.
change. So that's the deal with the policy on there.
Put
Other
your word
than-
back in instead.
Yeah, other than that,
Okay,
that was our meeting.
all right. Data analysis committee.
Yeah, we met and had a very good meeting. Don't really know what to say other than we are going to meet again after data can be collected so that we can better evaluate the information that's available within the district so that we can measure progress and things like that. So very healthy group, and we are actively meeting and I think fulfilling our responsibilities.
All right, thank you.
Along that same line, by the way, we are surveying, right, as we speak right now, the community. And the parents have been surveyed, and the teachers are going to be surveyed, I think, next week. And so we'll have all that data in January for the data committee. So that'd
And
be good stuff.
that'll be good because this will be the second year, so we'll have some comparison data.
That's exactly right. So
Where,
it's really going to be good.
where we can see where improvement has happened and where we need to work on.
Is Mark Manis doing that?
Yeah.
As well? Good.
We're keeping it objective that way, so trust it.
Okay, safety committee.
Oh, Safety Committee. We met. As you know, we approved the purchase of lockdown for all of the buildings. Teachers unanimously chose that. So that training is going on. As of December 7th, training should be complete at all the buildings. Chad Doss, who's developed the program, reports that each staff has been very receptive to it. Across the district, we're doing repairs that should end in December, securing playgrounds at Soaring Heights, Rural Heights, and Cecil Floyd. And then in January, we're going to start looking at the survey results. If you remember, we surveyed the staff to say, how do you feel about safety? And they felt really good about tornado drills, and they felt really good about fire drills, but they were not as comfortable in their lockdown drills. And so we're going to start, we've been doing some of that training, and we're going to start surveying again to see where we're at now in our comfort level in using drills.
Okay, thank you. Finance Committee?
We met, we actually had a really good meeting. We went over what the CPA review group had done, and a couple of recommendations that they've made. And then Dr. Langford gave us some great information, sort of about, we compare ourselves to Webb City a lot, but he gave us some background information on why Webb City is where they're at, and sort of what happened at the time where we started falling short at them, and it was very good. I appreciated that very much.
I think it would be good for the whole board to hear that.
It would be,
Yeah.
and so, and we have a benefits committee meeting. I just noticed it was changed to January 17th. So.
One thing I'd like to add to that is we talked a lot about how are we going to get our salaries back up to a competitive level, and I feel like we've done a really good job of cutting out maybe some unnecessary positions, and that we're still open to looking at what else can we make the cuts, but that ultimately to get salaries to be competitive, we're going to have to make some tough decisions on how do we do that, on what else can we cut, but then what else can we do in order to get raises so that we don't become just the training ground and they stay here for 5 years and then they leave us. We need some seasoned teachers. It goes hand in hand. We know the quality of the teacher impacts the quality of the education.
Absolutely. No question.
Thank you both. Okay, Superintendent's data report.
Yeah, we have some health and dental care insurance reports.
Right, just answer any questions the board may have. I will say since June 30, we've added $350,000 to our balance, bringing us up to $1.3 million in the fund, which is not uncommon since our year just started October 1, where people are having to meet their deductibles, so a lot's on our staff. But we'll be watching those numbers closely in the coming 3 or 4 months to get a better read on the performance of the plan.
Can I ask, so total revenues for the plan were $581,000, basically $582,000, and our expenses were $344,000. Is that, normally we're closer or we're over, is that a result of employees using the dial-in?
Phone card?
The
Yeah.
phone.
No,
Telemedicine.
That'd be too early. That's just a
Okay,
function
so
of,
that's not-
our revenue's pretty level because we charge the same month in, month out, but the expenditures, how people go to the doctor and how sick they get is what fluctuates. And what you're seeing is a
Healthy
low
Just a
fluctuation to
month.
help
Just a
our
little
plan.
month. Okay,
gets-
it didn't have anything to do with that.
No.
Okay, I just was wondering if
But
that was.
I've had some
a
comments, though,
reflection
of staff using that, and a couple of the first ones I've had were successful. I'm not sure, Dr. Langford, if your office has heard much, but that card started use, that card 10-1, I believe, and, so having some good early comments.
Yeah, and it might be good, now that it's not necessarily fresh, to send out some type of a reminder about it during the holiday seasons.
Just keep it
That-
going.
that-
Yeah,
That's
a
a
lot of
way
home
that,
time.
exactly, that's a way that we can all save money on expenses. Yep,
Very good.
so, okay.
Financial statements.
Again, I'll answer any questions, but I think Eric's going to put up, Dr. Scott, do you mind hitting the lights, please? Going to put up just a quick PowerPoint slide that was shown to the parents forum, the teachers forum, the data committee, board data committee, the board finance committee, and I believe Kelly's going to put it on our website. It's as of September 30. It's a little bit dated, but it tells a big picture. This is just a copy of the agenda of our CPA review committee work that Jennifer mentioned earlier. I did want to read the members of that committee: Mike Leone, Freeman Hospital; Charlie Davis, retired; Baker Davis, Roderick; Mike Gray, partner; Baird Kurtz and Dobson; and Jeff Gibson, budget director, operations out at Southern. Susan Smith and myself comprised the committee. And that committee, part of what Jennifer referenced was they did look at what the board saw as a proposed payment plan of the Bank of America financing. The board saw that, I believe, in September, and they thought it looked reasonable. They did emphasize if we did a refinancing to make it be flexible so we could apply payments as soon as they came in from FEMA and to save costs in terms of professional services. That's the proposed lease purchase that you saw, I believe, at the September meeting. I'm just sharing it with the public here. Those two lines, equipment grants, FEMA and SEMA obligations, they're all grant-type revenues we expect over time. All the work is submitted to those agencies, and they'll be sending us revenues to pay that down to zero by June 1. And if all those revenues are not in by then, we'll be bringing to the board in the January and February timeframe a possible extension to the plan to anticipate receipt of those revenues so that when they come in, we can pay that down. That does show the original lease purchase amount back in August of 14 and how we paid that down. That plan does work as those revenues come in. Where it says value there, that slide should say 15 million, the slide you just saw. And that's the anticipated payment down to zero next June 1st. Again, if there's a few million that are left to be paid due to collections not yet coming in, we'll work with that in the coming months with the board. That's too busy to really be meaningful here, although I would just go to the top line. That shows last June 30, money in the bank, our operating fund, 14.7 million, which is 22% of our operating budget. The capital projects fund had 5.8 million in it. And then we've been making some changes and payments since July 1st, the biggest one of which is near the middle, P1, the legal settlement. We had to pay legal fees this year of $586,000. We'd paid several hundred thousand the year prior. And you can see the $2.5 million payment over the capital projects fund, which was for construction work performed. I believe the original ask by the contractor, P1, was $7 million. And we thought they didn't perform that much work, so we worked with our attorneys and got it down to what we thought was a fair number to represent construction work performed. Anyway, the bottom numbers there, projecting the next June 30, are $12 million, which is about 18% of an annual operating budget. The other column, you can barely see the $525,000. That's too low for capital projects fund, but it does show that, the board and the administration and the district have some work to do to get those balances up. But the last slide, Eric, will show the far right is where we're projecting next June 30, that 18%, down a little bit from the prior 2 years. But if you keep looking back to the left, that low point 14 is our low water mark from all the post-storm financial chaos that was brought to us and other types of work. Our high water mark was back in 11 before the storm hit. So what that shows is that we have a good solid footing financially from last June 30. We adopted an original budget that was balanced. We do have some adjustments tonight we're going to bring to that budget, but we're projecting what you see there, 18% next June 30. And that basically says that the financial impact of that storm with those revenues to pay down Bank of America, which, by the way, all that's offline, does not affect our operating budget. Those are FEMA receipts and grants that we're going to collect. They don't impair our operating budget. This is our operating balances, the outlook, the history, and where we look to be next June 30, which does present a good solid footing on which to build in the future. And I will say that the districts around us, as you look at that last tower there and say, is 18%, how does that measure up? I think two districts around us are at 13 and 14%. One's at 18%. This is past June 30. We project to be at 18% next June 30. And one's at 24%. So we're right in the middle of our surrounding peers. But just want to get that out to the public. I believe Kelly's going to post that. But questions of the board on that?
So, Paul, does this reflect these budget adjustments?
Yeah, I made an estimate in there. It's not quite the total of these adjustments. I think I did have $360,000 in there for. Again, this is as of September 30. We put this together, but
Pretty close.
pretty close.
Okay, so.
Now, it'll change. I can keep you. I'll update this as we adopt budget adjustments, and I can update this periodically and show it throughout the year.
And so the adjustments that you've got will take us to the 18.6.
Right.
That's right.
And if there's anything else that comes out of there,
Right.
it comes
It
below
could go
that.
plus or minus. I do expect to bring a further adjustments back in March, looking at revenue. That could be revenue neutral, but we'll modify this as we go.
How often do those adjustments go up?
Not real often.
Okay.
I mean, you can just read the newspapers and tell that the state of Missouri is having issues this year. I think I heard where they were 7% behind
Yeah.
on what they anticipate, which means, and the governor's already issued one withholding picture that I updated with you on the Thursday update a few months ago. So, you know, the economy's just kind of out there doing this treadmill thing.
One thing we talked about in the finance committee was the board establishing a number, a percent that we want to have
That's right.
in operating funds,
Right.
and then when we make our budget,
Right.
keep that in mind, that this is the percent that we
Exactly.
want. So, Paul, if we were to say we have 3 months' salary in reserves, which is kind of an old written rule I recall from the day, what percent would that be?
That's 25%.
25, so a fourth of our budget.
Right,
Yeah,
which is,
okay.
right.
That's about right.
And Paul, is there any way, and maybe this isn't the appropriate time to ask this, but is there any way to know how much money, how much revenue we're losing because of the TIFs?
I can bring a
question.
report and update the
Yeah,
board in January.
We have a pretty close estimate, yeah. It's pretty close to $1 million.
But with just the one TIF of the recovery TIF.
That's true.
Is $1.1 million by itself, but there's,
Per year?
yes.
Per year.
We would, as Dr. Ritter and I, when we approached down there for the last TIF, they did South Main, and asked the council to consider voting no on that one. We were asked a question about that TIF, and I explained that the build back in Joplin, yes, they had JHAP, they had a good program to help finance housing, but that wasn't a TIF program. That was a JHAP. I'm not sure if it's CDBG or what was funding for it, but it happened not because of the TIF and despite of basically a failed TIF. And so we would be back where we were pre-storm and be enjoying these revenues without the TIF.
And they're trying to make that area over by Toys R Us.
I think the only
A new
way we can
TIF.
deal with this is be very transparent and inform the public.
Yes.
Because we can't control the council.
That's true, yeah, right.
So
So
I
I-
think the more pressure
But
comes
it's
from.
taking money away from our kids.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe
So-
a January report might
Yeah, I
help.
think so.
When is the next city council meeting? I mean, they are discussing yet another TIF.
Well,
Do
I
you know
just got a
when
call
that's gonna
today.
happen?
No, I'm not aware of another TIF. The Ryan's
Yeah.
restaurant.
Right there by
I
Toys
got
R
a
Us.
call today and said that the developer had decided to move away from that Chapter 353 tool that did affect our property taxes and move toward what they call Community Investment District, which allows them and their immediate community of retailers around them, if they choose, to add on the sales tax and have that additional
Right, it's a
sales tax
CID,
pay their
yeah.
their renovations instead of our property taxes. So we like that result, and so that's off the table
So that's good.
as of right now.
Okay. Because we were ready to go attend
We were
the
going to go to city
council.
council.
Well, good. But yeah, I'll bring back a January report to the board and educate the board and the public more on our total picture of abatements.
It would be a good representation if you take this chart and show the percentage, what would it have been had it not been for the
Show a dotted line
TIF?
or
That way you
something.
can say, okay,
Right.
there is an impact,
Right.
but it's not an impact that the board or the district made. Somebody else made it and it impacted us.
What's our teacher salaries?
It is,
Yep,
that's
it is.
exactly what I was
That would
thinking.
put us
$1
right there.
million.
So,
Can I ask a question too? Paul, is there, so we know that if our reserves get to a certain low level, there's a red flag. I've heard that there's also a level if we have too much in reserves, that is there?
Well,
No, there's not.
the staff or teachers groups and staff and if you don't have good raises and you have what they consider to be too large of balances, they'll let you know about that. That's kind of a fulfilling input there. But as far as on the low side, and I do think, Dr. Langford, aren't there a lot of districts between 22 and 30%?
If you fall below
30%.
3%, then you go and you become
On the low side.
at risk. There's
Right.
legal terminology, but there's
Did-
nothing defines.
To having too much in
Right,
there?
because
Okay.
you can actually go online and come up and tell you what every school district had.
There's some
and
pretty
those
high.
percentages. And some that are real small, but it's not uncommon to see some have 100%.
Yep.
Wow, okay.
Yep.
So, and I'd say,
Just curious, I-
since I've been here, one time we made a purposeful transfer back in '94. The state funds your, provides you significant funding, but they want it to primarily to go to salaries and classroom, which is understandable. They will allow you to move some over in transfers, but they allowed a large transfer in '94. We dropped down purposely to 8%, where they allowed you to drop down to make a large transfer to help with your buildings. But since then, we've been up as high as 30% or something, a lot of years in that 22 to 25% zone. 10% is the low water mark for the last 20 years probably, what you see on the chart.
Anyway, a couple other things I wanted to mention. First of all, congratulations on your selection. I thought the person was awesome. By the way, I did my own checking, and I guarantee you that it's rock solid. So at least 10 years. Because that's the kind of commitment that everybody is saying we're going to get from that. The other thing is the Thursday board updates. Everybody, we're moving more and more data into that, and we don't want to make it too long, but hopefully, give us feedback if it gets to be too much. But we're doing that. We're moving more data into that.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, one thing I might like to add is, Pat, you had started sending us out like a kind of a list of events for the week.
Oh, that's
If it's possible to
just include that in
include
there.
Add
that
that
in
to
that
the
Thursday,
Thursday.
like,
Oh, okay.
include it down at the bottom,
Sure.
Like what's coming the next week?
like what's coming up.
Yep,
sure.
things. That would be,
That way we can
Really
make it a
nice.
point to be on the forefront if we can be somewhere, or we know something's going on, somebody asks, we could say it's coming. Oh, that's a good idea.
I didn't mean to interrupt, I'm
No.
sorry.
Yeah, you should never be surprised. That's my point. And so we really need to keep you informed as much as possible, so.
You should all now be on the district email, so when an email goes out to the staff,
You
all the
should
board
get it.
members should get a copy. So if you're not getting that,
Let me know.
let
You
Norm
should.
know.
No, it just started.
It started last week.
Yeah, we just started doing it.
Has anything gone out?
Well, I don't know.
I think, well, yeah.
The superintendent one you did.
This one will, so if you don't get an email about
Interviews.
that,
Let us know, because you should be on the permanent,
Yep.
note to.
and that way, when an issue that's important enough to go to all the staff, it's important enough that we are at least aware of it. I mean, it's not a permission to send it, but it's, again, transparency to know what everybody's talking about.
And it was my fault. I was assuming all along you guys were getting that
Nope.
stuff. So anyway.
Nope, we got
All
it
right,
fixed.
let's go on.
All right. Any public comments? Pat? All right, excellent. Consent agenda. Be happy to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the consent.
I'll second.
Deb made the motion, Jennifer second. Please vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay, that passes. Excellent. Regular agenda accounts payable, Paul.
Yes, we have the bill list items for materials, equipment, services, salaries, and benefits in both instructional and support areas. The administration recommends the board approve payment of bills in the amount of $9,014,372.96.
I move we pay our bills.
All right. Motion by Lori, second by Chris. Any question, discussion? Please vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. The next item is item 2, budget adjustments.
Yes, we sent out a set of budget adjustments, and we'll probably bring another set maybe in March, and we have our June 30 year-end set. These are pretty self-explanatory. I buffered that with a board email the other day to kind of highlight a few things, and I've tried to keep you up with the Thursday updates that were started some months ago with the more significant recurring budget adjustments ahead of this formal action as they accumulate. So I would add, though, that there was one adjustment I didn't bring to this set. I'll bring it in March, but I did give you a board update on that, and that is the prior director of special services had indicated that this year's budget, we had historically had a balanced budget aimed at the parents as teachers function, that activity. And this year, there's been some changes in the Missouri funding level, and I think some of the expenditures with the Affordable Care Act was kind of eating into that budget. But with the new administration, Sandra Cantwell and Janet Earl, they're going to take a hard look at this. But for this year, it looks like the total local contribution to that budget might be as much as $116,000. No, that's not in this that you're adopting tonight, but I'll bring that in March. But that's just another, thing we have to deal with as we develop the budget for 18 this spring. With that, I would ask the board to approve the set of budget adjustments as recommended and listed by fund on the attached schedule of budget adjustments.
So moved.
Motion by Sherrick,
Second.
second by Lori. Discussion. I have a comment too I want to add in here.
I was going to say, mine is a comment too, and I think this came up in our budget or finance committee
Yes, it did.
meeting, is that some of these items, like number 9, establish carryover budget for projects approved in fiscal year 16, that's money that we had last year that we didn't spend that was moved into reserves, and now it's coming out because we're doing those projects in this year. So that's money that was actually budgeted
Right.
for that purpose
Right.
last year. And then number 14, aren't we waiting for?
Right, that's that AT&T infrastructure piece, and as soon as they start, Eric, is that on track for AT&T to convert like in January or
It's
thereabouts?
supposed to be December, but we need a month or two carryover.
Okay.
But I wrote an email to AT&T today to confirm that they're still on.
So if that happens in January, I booked the whole worst-case scenario, 80,000, so if that happens in January or thereabouts, we would just be seeing about half, or maybe less than half of that adjustment.
Right, so I just wanted to make a
So,
point that
yep.
some of this stuff it's not just all coming out, there is going to be some probably coming back in, or that it
Right,
was actually
exactly.
budgeted for, so.
Good points.
My comment was to number 7, budget adjustment to increase staffing. We added a couple of teachers, and we added nurses.
Nurses.
At the
LPNs.
elementary schools, LPNs.
Yeah.
So there's some things that we have added to it that weren't there before, but we felt that the priority was there. And most people aren't reading this agenda at home, so
Right.
I just want to make sure that
good point.
everybody's kind of aware. Yes, we have some unexpected expenses, but they're things that we felt were priority for the district, so.
And I'd like to add to that because Paul confirmed an email today that will put at least a half-time staff nurse in each elementary where we were
Oh,
really
thanks for
hurting.
following up on
Yeah.
that. I forgot. I was
Yes.
going to check with
So
Paul.
that's really
Yeah.
important. That's a comment that we heard a lot, that the elementary schools needed nurses.
Right,
so-
and even those younger kids that have medications they have to take while they're at school, not having nurses put the extra stress on the office staff and the principals and other people that couldn't do their job so they can focus on it. So it goes back to focus and efficiency. So there was a motion by Sherrick and a second by Lori, so please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, that motion passes. The next item, number 5, Joplin Schools Early Childhood Bids. Dr. Saketa?
Okay. Ryan, would you like to come up? Ryan Walters, Dave Pettit, why don't you come up too,
They weren't
please?
ready.
We have worked diligently for quite some time, and I got in on the end of this project. So Ryan is with Hollis and Miller, our architect, and also Dave's going to be working with the project real close. We have a couple things we want to talk to you about tonight, and I'm going to let Ryan do a lot of the talking. The first thing we want to do is we want to recommend a contractor, Crossland Construction. Crossland Construction bid on the project as well as about 6 other contractors, and they won the bid. And we think that we're excited about them doing this project, and we would like to think that you would want to make sure that they get that done. The second thing is, we have an addendum to the Hollis and Miller scope of work and their contract to make sure that during the building of the school, that the special inspections are done correctly and they're taken care of all the way through the process, and make sure that we can stay on time and also mitigate issues that might be there all the way through the process. So anyway, Ryan, I'll let you talk and address the board and kind of fill in some gaps that I've missed here.
Well, I think you did a pretty good job of summing it up. I think you guys have gotten a letter of recommendation that we sent through. The bids were opened. They were good. They came in right where we needed them to, meaning that the way this is funded, we need to spend the money on the building, and if we don't get to keep it. It goes back in there. So the goal was to maximize the benefit for the students, and I think the way the bids came in, we're very pleased at what that allowed you guys to do in terms of flexibility. So I think if there's any other information or questions you have about, where we are with the process or what happens next, fire away.
Can I just ask, and I asked Carrie this the other day, so everything that's in here is covered by the grant, correct? So there's no out-of-pocket from the district
Correct.
for this, okay. So when we had talked about it, there was a buffer of like, I don't know, 1 million or something, huh?
You're looking at it, yeah.
Right. But here it shows us using every
Every penny?
dollar. So is that buffer still there?
Yes,
Or
the-
are we using that up?
No, well, okay, so during construction, things will happen. The contractor will make a mistake. We will have mistakes on our drawings. There may be things that happen in the field that are unforeseen. We utilize a portion of the budget, usually 3 to 5%, as contingency for those things that happen. That is represented on, I should have numbered these lines, but construction contingency, that's 7.9% down
Okay.
there. So that's part of the buffer
That's
there.
okay.
The special inspections estimate is another cost of construction, but can't be controlled by the contractor because it's their work that is being, verified. That's another slice of the buffer. Also, at this point in the project, because of how conservative we have been with the design and the extensive investigations by Anderson Engineering into the site and those sorts of things, we were comfortable to recommend that we can lower the original amount of contingency, which was around 11%, which is about double what you normally have, which was fine because it kept the team focused, it kept the district focused on prioritizing correctly. So with that, we were able to lower that amount and then essentially buy more building with the design. So this represents the base bid plus all 7 add alternates, which include 3 new classrooms that were not part of the base bid, as well as various other amenities on the building, extra drains in the building. I'd have to go through the full list on there, but that's where that buffer is. So the goal isn't to spend all that contingency. Hopefully, what we'll be able to do as we get further into the project is to identify some of the other costs that we asked the bidders to identify, unit prices, such as mow strips, other amenities to the site, more trees, more play equipment, those sorts of things, better gates, taller gates, any of those sort of things that we included in there to try to maximize the impact for the students. Long answer, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right, no, thank
And
you.
remember from the start, we said, we're not going to go over 10 million, period.
Right, exactly.
So we're always going to cut back.
That's why I'm
So-
asking.
So, but there are options then at the very end or towards the very end that if there is a fund balance left in that 10 million, you could activate. So we don't go over, but we also consume what's available.
That's
Right, right,
Otherwise,
correct.
it goes back.
Have you done some geological engineering with that to find out if there's any mine shafts under that particular area? I know the old St. John's Hospital had issues with mines all the time.
Yes. Part of our fee, Anderson is, part of our fee. We designed that fee with them to have a healthy portion of early investigation. So part of the documents has, I think it's a 90 or 110-page report, including soil borings and soil investigations to look at where the geology is. We actually redesigned the building about halfway through the process when they finished that analysis to take all the risk we could out of the project. So we do have a lot of knowledge there. Obviously having that building there, before, there is still an element of unknown. We've done everything we can to give you a functioning building that fits the program and also minimizes that.
Because I could see if we had a lot of issues and we had to put a lot more concrete in and pillars and such, the cost goes way, which happened at the high school.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I would go on specifically, what we've done is we've redesigned to move that building so that we will not be doing micro piers like they did at the high school. This is all spread footings unless something drastically strange happens.
Okay.
I have a question for Carrie. It seems like a couple leadership meetings ago, we talked about the outside playground apparatuses that might be in the ground, outside of the site. And did we determined those would be approved by approvable use of CDBG funds for that purpose?
Yes. We
Yes,
did.
yeah, absolutely.
And is that, when the question came up about, will we have anything else to put in this project, is that a pretty complete playground or bare bones, or is that something we may want to supplement over time? or-
It is very well designed. There is limited space on the project.
So you're maximizing.
And in terms of just clearances for play equipment, you might be able to squeeze a little something more in there.
Pretty well going to fill it up.
But it's going to fill it up, yeah.
And I think, Brian, too, didn't you say a lot of projects are typically 3.4, 3.5 contingency at one time?
Yeah, and, the smaller the budget, goes down, the higher the percentage of that is relative to everything else. To give you an idea, we have a 90,000 square foot building. I'm wearing my boots today because I forgot to change them before I got in the car. I was out on site this morning. That building started with a $535,000 contingency. We are not going to use it all. That is on a site that has rolling hills. It's multi-story. It's a pretty complex scenario. This is also a complex site. But we have a conservative contingency, and we've taken that track the whole way, so.
Okay, okay. If there's no more questions, I'll make a motion to approve the general contractor as
Second.
presented. Second by Deb. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that motion passes. Okay. Architect?
Do you want to talk about the special inspections?
This is that contract expansion?
Yes, contract expansion.
Yep.
Uh,
Does it all go the same?
Yes,
Yeah, you want me to?
right.
All right, I'll make that same motion to accept that piece of the two.
I'll second that.
All right, please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that
And-
passes.
And I want to acknowledge Aaron Heights here from Crossing Construction, so
Aaron?
I'm sure they,
I said he looked familiar, that's it.
and Travis Green's here too. He's been helping us with the
Travis.
project as well. And I just want to thank the city of Joplin for their help in all this. We've got a long way to go to make sure that we can work on traffic is one of the next things. So that we're already in the works on that. So we know that that's going to be a very congested area, so we're going to work with the city as we go and hopefully get that
Okay,
as smooth as we can along the way.
excellent. Ryan, Dave, thank you. Sorry, Dave, I didn't have any questions for you. When somebody says-
I would say I'm disappointed, but thank you.
I'll say congrats on hiring bus substitutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting those bus substitutes in there.
Ryan, if you wouldn't have said anything about your shoes, nobody would have noticed.
That's right, now we all gotta see.
Everybody's looking at your
That's
shoes.
true, huh?
Awesome, from your vantage.
I can't see, so.
All right.
Only those two can see it.
All right, renewal of the
Thank you, Frank.
Fortinet web filter.
Sounds like an Eric.
Is that Eric?
It is.
Oh, it's,
It's
yeah,
Carrie.
this guy right here. I was going to say, where you going?
There
Eric?
you go.
We're going-
I was saying you
Eric-
can do it
Eric's
from
gonna help
there.
me
You
on
don't
this
have to
one.
go there.
We have a two-prong system that we want to purchase here that's more efficient and effective than what we've done in the past when it comes to firewall and it comes to filtering out content that we don't want our kids or anybody to be able to get a hold of, okay? So Eric can explain this much better, but essentially what we want to do is purchase a two-in-one product that's more efficient and that actually will go deeper in terms of filtering content.
This is actually a renewal.
Or it's a renewal, but anyway, but there's an upgrade in the system though, is that right, Eric, to a degree?
Because these two units are together, it allows what they call deep packet inspection. So any kind of web traffic that comes in, our firewall actually tears apart the traffic and looks for any malicious software before it even gets to our system. So that's a plus. And then we're about maybe a month out from being able to filter our devices off campus. So we ran into some problems with the client, so now we're trying a different approach. It's called proxy server, and we're almost there, so.
So one of the goals we would have is any device a kid takes home, we would also be able to filter it at home.
While it's at home.
That's what we're saying. This is something we've talked about since we had the laptops at the high school.
Which I think parents have been asking for.
Yes, and I think that will help a lot of parents feel better. We've had a small number of parents that really didn't want their kids to bring a laptop home, very small. But this will help some of those parents with those concerns.
Okay.
And these two devices coming together like this are a lot cheaper than having the single appliances that do the same thing, and we get a lot more bang for our buck because we can do a lot more with the combined unit together, so.
This is a single vendor item, proprietary, is that?
Yeah, it's through
It's a renewal.
SMC, but
Okay.
FortiGate, the way they have stuff, it's a regional thing.
Okay.
And we could go to other vendors, but SMC's the vendor for this area, so they're going to get the best price for
Okay.
them. So.
Well, I move that we approve the renewal of the Fortinet suite.
All right. Motion by Sherrick,
Second.
second by Deb.
Quick question. So
Discussion?
Carrie, will this take care of some of the issues we've had at the high school with kids sharing things on their phones or no?
No.
No.
Not on the
Okay.
phones.
We only, the only things we can do, if they get on our
If they're
network.
if they're on our network.
If they learn our password or whatever, or they put their device on our network, then we can filter because it'll go through our firewall. But on phones and stuff, if they're on their own data plan, we can't filter
Yeah.
that at all.
But if all the parents would require their kids to have their phones on their network, well, then we could tell them everybody.
There you go.
But that's a good question.
All right.
Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that motion passes. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Speed Track, Ms. Cantwell. Or, I guess it's
Sped Track is
sped.
this is our annual fee for Sped Track, which houses all of our IEPs and evaluations for Sped kids. It's the web-based program that the district uses. And many of the other districts around us use it, so when a kid transfers from NeoShow, Sped Track can give us access to the evaluation and IEPs, just a request. So this is an annual fee that we pay to keep.
Just a renewal.
Does this come out of money that's that's reimbursed or no?
It's through the
Paul?
state funding.
State funding.
So, like, a lot of the title stuff is.
Well, it's not
State
100%. No, it's comes through state and local funds. We pay lights, salaries, everything.
But it's budgeted for every year.
Yeah, it's budgeted.
Yes,
It's in the
it's
budget.
budgeted for every year.
Okay.
All right, I move we approve Sped Track.
Second.
Motion by Deb, second by Chris. No further discussion, please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, all right, thank you. Next, school board election. Dr. Ritter, are you running for the board?
Heck no.
I want to move we approve this.
We do have some people already inquiring, by the way.
That's good.
So, yeah, one or two. We never did get their name, but
Didn't get their name. Anonymous.
anyway.
Prank phone calls.
But you don't need more explanation if you want to go ahead
Yeah.
and move forward.
So
It's law.
this is a information, it says it's an action item,
Yes.
and the action is to declare when this resolution,
Right.
the opening of,
Let me help you.
thank
I
you.
move that we approve the attached
Thank you.
resolution calling for the April 4, 2017 election and approve the date of December 13, 2016 as the first date of filing and January 17, 2017 as the last date of filing for school board candidate as required by law.
Did you get all that, Pat?
I will
I will
second.
second that.
Motion by
Second.
Sherrick, second
I would second and
by
wish 'em all up.
Jennifer.
My name's not on the
Please,
ballot.
please,
I thought you'd want to second it.
please
I
vote.
did.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, that motion passes. So those people that are interested, basically what that means is the filing period opens on December 13th, and everybody that files on the first day will have their name randomly drawn for the preferential order, and then anybody that files after that first day, it will be in chronological order based on when they've submitted their application to Ms. Waldo. So if there's any questions, call Pat.
And I will add that the office will be closed December 22nd to January 3rd, so if you want to file, don't go over then. Go before December 22nd or after January 3rd.
Good to know. Next item, policy update first reading. Dr. Ritter.
It's the policy FEF, construction contracts, bidding and awards. Anything there, Carrie, as far as its first reading?
I read it.
Nope.
Wasn't it something about the 15,000?
Yes, right.
Limit?
The policy committee looked at it a couple
25 to 50.
times.
Right, just leaving our $15,000 amount where it's at.
Corresponds with our purchasing policy.
Right, exactly. That's what the
Okay.
change is.
Nothing new is what I meant.
Nothing new. Okay. I entertain a motion to
I'll move that we
accept
approve
that. Great.
policy reading, first reading.
Jennifer's motion to approve.
I'll second.
Deb's second. No further discussion, please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that motion passes. Okay, number 10, Dr. Ritter, high school
Simple.
course changes.
Simple course change.
Yep.
We have a couple math principal, math teacher. By the way, he's really a good math teacher. Does a good job.
He lived through my kid, so I can vouch for that.
I've walked into his classroom several times. He's got him on tack,
All
very
right.
engaged.
I'm just going to let them, this
Go
is
ahead.
their.
Excellent.
This is
Go
their
ahead.
area, and I'm going to let them talk about the course change and why it would be in the best interest of our students.
We decided to make a change to how we're offering pre-algebra and algebra. And, you know, just a big overview. I'm going to let Mr. Hancock get into the details a little bit, but we want to take algebra and turn it into an Algebra 1A and Algebra 1B class to help split that curriculum up and the pacing of it. It's going to help better. It's going to better suit our students at all levels. So I'll let Mr. Hancock speak to you a little bit about it if you have any questions.
Yes, as you already said, we are finding some problems with the pace with the kids coming from pre-algebra into Algebra 1, and we are not able to get to the depth that we would like to with those kids. And so being able to spread it over 2 years, we'll be able to get to the depth, and we'll still get through all the content that we need, and we'll also, in the regular Algebra 1 course, be able to address the depth that we need to with the rate with those kids as well. So we're hoping to see EOC scores improve across the board by doing that. And so you guys can ask any questions if you got any.
I have a question. How does this affect NC2A requirements? Because NC2A requirements, there's 4 years of math. How does this?
This will be an Algebra 1 credit. So just like pre-algebra, if you take pre-algebra, you don't get an algebra credit.
Right, but
Now with NC2A, they approved it. We looked at, they had it approved within, we did it that day. And it was approved within 10 minutes.
NCAA has already approved it.
Everything that we do,
So-
I think that
any
was the main
class or
question.
change that we do, we seek NCAA approval before we even, if it's not NCAA approved, we're not going to make that change.
Okay.
Okay, but how about kids applying to universities? I mean, because they want a certain level of math.
Yeah.
If I'm taking 2 years of Algebra 1, I'm getting geometry in Algebra 2. Where's that advanced trigonometry, calculus class that colleges are requiring kids to have?
Jennifer, are you asking, is this for everyone, or is this one?
Students would still be able to, it doesn't affect that end of it, because this would be for students who are going to be going through pre-algebra. So if the students who were not able, will still be able to take algebra, but this is for students who would have to take pre-algebra before they can get into algebra. Do you understand what I'm
Okay,
saying?
so pre-algebra is not, I guess I assume pre-algebra is maybe a middle school course, and Algebra 1 is the first course.
No,
of
we
high
offer
school.
pre-algebra at the high school.
You do, okay.
And so it doesn't change the period or the number of credits that they would get in high school or what was recognized by the NCAA.
And not everyone would be taking the
And not
2
everyone
years
would
to do
take that,
algebra.
no.
We'll still have Algebra 1 available.
Correct.
That they can get through. And-
Yes.
My-
Do we still do even Algebra 1 in 8th grade or not?
Yes.
Oh,
We
yes.
do, okay.
Oh, yes.
My bigger concern is those students that might be taking the 1A and 1B are more likely those that might go to the A-plus program. How does this affect that? Because you have to take a certain number of math credits.
If it's high school math credits, they'll still get the 4 credits.
Okay, so as long as it doesn't impact that, I'm less worried about those going to Harvard that are taking the pre-algebra one, but more that might want to take advantage of the A-plus program.
And I just want to make sure we're not limiting students
Yeah.
to, that, I mean, because sometimes they
When
get
they're-
to the
when they're
point.
14.
Yeah, right, exactly, because your
No,
ideas
That's a
look
good point.
different as a junior than they do as a freshman,
They will
and-
still have the opportunity to, if they can move off of that track, if you want to call it a track, if
Right.
they can figure that out, they could double up and do geometry and algebra 2 later on, and then move on to the deeper or upper level math if they need to.
I want to
Can they
commend you
do that?
guys.
I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to commend you for making these changes because it really does meet the needs of all of our kids. Maybe those kids have been overlooked a little bit, so I appreciate you looking at this.
And it doesn't change it. The students who would be in Algebra 1A would be in pre-algebra currently. So there's really there's not a change to the pace of what students who would be taking pre-algebra would be. I mean, it's the same.
Okay.
I want to give you the assurance that in the elementary level, the math fluency that's going on there, it's very rigorous. I'd like to see Algebra 1 in 6th grade in 5 years. There's a challenge. And it's not your challenge, but
We would like to eliminate the Algebra 1A
But to be honest with
classes,
you,
and that would be
that's the
8
kind of
years.
rigor we're starting to see in our elementaries around math. And so hopefully we can get it to that level and you won't have to worry about algebra, algebra, whatever you're doing here.
That'd be
but
great.
It's going to be much easier. So anyway, I think your point's well taken.
I mean, I just want to make sure, because I know we changed something with the science requirement, and I've had a lot of parents come to me and say, this is, my kid shouldn't take this class, how do I get out of taking this class? I just want to make sure we're not making things harder for kids to be on that track is all. So,
Okay. Okay.
Well taken. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the course changes as presented.
Deb, second.
Deb, second. Thank you. No further discussion, please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, that passes.
I encourage you to visit his class.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
And lady.
Good stuff.
Number 11, pluses and deltas.
What did you guys do well tonight?
We hired a superintendent.
Yeah.
I go plus.
By the way, you went over that, number 12. Explain that.
Yeah, okay. I'll do number 12 and then come back for any more of 11. So.
Oh, that's right.
The superintendent contract, we did,
In closed session.
we did in closed session approve on a 7-0 vote. Linda's not here, she wasn't able to be here, but she was able to make the closed session, and she wanted to make sure that it was a 7-0 vote and that there wasn't an abstention. So we did that during closed session, but I wanted to make that known during open session that it was a unanimous selection, and we are thrilled for Dr. Moss to join the family of Joplin Schools.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
So as far as plus deltas, yes.
Now
You hire.
Now we hire
Now we
superintendent, yep,
hire
yep.
superintendent.
Superintendent, right, can understand what.
Yep, so,
Plus Delta is the construction for early childhood.
Okay.
The bids that came in for that and the
The
thoroughness that
focus.
we're looking into putting that building into being.
It's exciting.
Yes.
good.
I think a plus is this board's amazing to work with, and we don't always agree, but we agree to disagree, and we get along, we like each other, and we work well together.
Does that mean you're running?
No.
By the way, one positive point as well, your confidentiality was remarkable.
Absolutely.
I mean, you got beat up all over the streets and everything, and you just didn't shed a word. So anyway, that's a plus.
No one offered me cash or.
No,
Yeah.
parsonage is already
Well,
built.
and we had a lot of conversation about our candidates
Yep.
and
We did.
it was, yeah, it was
Yeah.
good.
Good
I mean,
process.
there were good points to everybody, and like you said, everyone was respectful through the whole process. I have to say, I'm glad it's over.
That was a lot of hours. That was a lot of
It
hours.
was, I thought it was a good process, and,
Good.
Well, and I'll say as a plus also, the consulting team, Ray and Associates that we had, they did their job. They tried to go above and beyond and do even more than we asked them for. And for that, I can applaud them and recommend them. They did a fine job, so I'll add that as well.
And we had a lot of excellent candidates, and I think that speaks highly to the
Yeah.
forward direction that our district
Yep.
is taking, that people wanted to come here.
Yep.
I'm very proud of this district.
All right. No other items. I would be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Deb and Jennifer, please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
I thought you were going to be all over that.
No, we did good.